It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to the Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. This is our talk show, my talk show. It's the talk show for the AAPI and the AAXs out there. You know who you are. AAX, fill in the X. Asian American Chinese would be AACH, the AHs, versus the AACs, Asian American Cambodian, of which there are many in this country. This is our show. And if you're not any of those aforementioned, you're just an ALL, all the rest of you. Welcome to the show. We're here Monday through Friday live at 2 p.m. Pacific. I put on my John Madden headset. Looks like I'm playing a video game. My trusty talk show sidekick, Kulin Tongong, he's here. He's got his different t-shirt. If he wears the same thing twice, you got to email me or something. Hey, he's wearing the same t-shirt twice. Maybe we'll give you a prize. I'm not sure. But this is a talk show because we have talk show implements. There it is, the talk show flip screen sound effect. What was that again? It's like a talk show host bad case of gas. But we're here because there is a void that we're filling. I mean, are there Asian American talk show hosts who talk about anything of consequence? Of course not. There aren't any. But we're going to talk about things like, okay, today we're going to talk about how the anti-forgiveness movement on student loans is racist and elitist. It's GOP-PPP hypocrisy. That's what it is. You know that, right? And we're going to talk about that because that is the big news. Oh, and then within the last half hour, the big news is that the judge down in Florida says we need to see the things that we aren't going to be able to see. We need to see the redacted subpoena, the redacted documents that pretty much lay out the plans of the Justice Department. Although all the key things, I mean, it's like they're going to give us like a pencil thin scaffolding kind of thing, but with all the key words and phrases, identifying phrases, blacked out. So it's typical of the kind of thing. Oh, you're my first FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. You're so excited. I'm going to get to FOIA something, and you file the papers. You do your Freedom of Information Act request, and then you get a note back saying it's here, it's ready, and you're saying, oh my God, I'm going to get the goods, and then you get them. And you look at it, and every third word is blacked out. But that's the kind of thing that the Republicans and Trump want us to go through because they want to seem like, oh, they're being so transparent. They're not. But we're going to get this transparent document, and it's going to look like the NRA shot bullet holes through the documents. It's just going to be all redacted, and you won't be able to say anything except it will be more of the same things that seem to be piling up against Donald Trump, why he felt he had to take those documents that belong to the office of the presidency, that belong in the National Archive, why he thinks they're his. Now you notice I'm here doing this talk show from my closet because I'm in a closet because of COVID, yeah, but I think it's symbolic because I like to collect things, right? I mean, I got my collection of newspapers. This is important. War in Ukraine, New York Times, February 25th. I mean, 6 months into it now, Russia's expanding. It looks like Russia was getting their butts kicked a little bit, and then now they're expanding. But this is the lingering thing, this war in Ukraine. Anyway, so I'm a pack rat, right? Like Donald Trump. I relate to him on a certain level. And I'm sure he's like, when I was in the White House, when I covered news conferences and did some stories out of the White House in the I guess it was in the 90s. When I was there, well, anything that wasn't nailed down, I took, right? I mean, a napkin, of course, nothing, a napkin isn't a top secret document, but I took it, anything that had the presidential seal, I took it. I mean, legally. I mean, I'm not taking top secret documents, but now Trump lives there and he thinks these are mine. These are my things. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to think like Trump because on some level, I kind of relate to him, which is why I dislike him so much. But I think that he thinks these are my things. These are like, remember, he comes into Sacramento and he says, oh, there's my black. There weren't that many of them, but he pointed to them. Google that when he said, oh, there's my black. And he these are my generals. These are my William Barr. What does he think William Barr is now? Now that William Barr has said he's full of BS. I'm just saying, I can understand the thinking of Trump. It's wrong. These things don't belong to him. But now the papers are going to be released tomorrow by noon. So on the West Coast, that'll be 9 a.m. We'll get the documents released and it'll say blank, 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 blankety blank. And we will be no further than we are today. But thank goodness, we'll be no further, but we will have something. There'll be something more to say, boy, how is Trump going to justify this? How is Trump going to justify the fact that he is no longer the president of the United States? He has all the best defenses you do not have when you're a private citizen, Donald John Trump. You don't have those defenses. So we'll see what happens tomorrow when everyone gets the redacted document and then we start speculating on what we really should be, and that is, how are Republicans going to deal with an indicted leader of the Republican Party? Is it just going to be the acceptance that, oh, well, yeah, it's just a band of crooks. It's a band of crooks there, led by the defeated, disgraced former president of the United States, the DDFPOTUS. I think that's kind of what the next step is, and then to see where Merrick Garland takes it. So that's kind of like the big story that's been eclipsing the other big story within the last, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes, that it was decided that, yeah, the judge wants to release it. He wants to release these documents by Friday at noon Eastern. But the big story still remains student loan debt. And if you listened to my show 374 yesterday, I played Biden's speech. We laid out what's going to happen. Yes, those family loans, those parent loans are covered. So if you were stuck with some loans because your child needed extra money because he or she was going to a private school that required more money, and now you got stuck, even though you're in your 50s or 60s or however old you are, maybe grandpa was stuck with the loan, up to $10,000 forgiven. If you make single taxpayer, $150,000, joint married taxpayers, $250,000. That's $10,000 freed up. However, if you got a Pell Grant because you're low income, there's another $10,000. So it's up to $20,000 that could be forgiven. So and it's not going to be automatic. I mean, they're going to forgive from the Office of Education. The details are going to come shortly, but the president is going to do it by executive order. And then the Office of Education is going to handle it, make sure you get all the notifications. But there still might be some people saying, no, we're not going to let you do this. And frankly, I was surprised at the reaction from the Republicans saying, oh, where's this money coming from? It's going to be so much money. It's going to wreck our economy, especially now. That is a lie. That is a lie. I played this yesterday, and I think this is important because it's the words of Joe Biden. And yesterday I pointed out the fact that, he's no blue blood. He may have come into some money later, which is weird. As a career politician, you come into money, but yeah. But his father worked working with an auto dealer. Joe Biden had a number of kids in his family. The story he told about not being able to get a loan from a bank to go to college shows you he understands what this is about and the importance of college. So this is what Joe Biden had to say yesterday about the kind of reaction that he anticipated getting.
Now, I understand not everything I'm announcing today is going to make everybody happy. Something is too much. I find it interesting how some of my Republican friends who voted for those tax cuts and others think that we shouldn't be helping these folks.
See, and that's a key thing. The Republicans out there with the tax cuts, raising the deficit, giving tax cuts on themselves and, to the wealthy, to the rich corporates, and thinking nothing about the middle and working class people who are hurt hard by student debt.
Something is too little, but I believe my plan is responsible and fair. It focuses the benefit on middle class and working families. It helps both current and future borrowers, and will fix a badly broken system. These actions build on my administration's effort to make college more affordable in the first place.
And that's a key thing about this. Is the first step for trying to overhaul the system so that college works for everyone in America. And that college isn't a matter of elitists getting what they want. It's a matter of everyone getting the opportunity across the board. And you'll find that a lot of people are actually borrowing the loans to go to college to the 2-year JCs. It's not like all 4-year private colleges of the good kind, like of the Harvard and Yales, as well as the bad kind of 4-year colleges, private colleges like the Corinthians, the healed college, the kind of colleges that promise you a degree. They take your money, they give you a loan, and then they don't get you the degree that is good enough to get the job. So as Biden said yesterday, you're stuck twice. You got a worthless degree, you got debt, and you feel like a weight has been placed on you by America. And so that's the justification for student loan forgiveness. And yet, as Biden anticipated, he was going to get creamed. I mean, the people out there saying what they are about student loans is just, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible because it exposes what I call the GOP-PPP hypocrisy on this issue. And it's pretty massive. Bernie Sanders on Twitter tweeted this out. He said, the average amount of debt forgiveness to businesses receiving PPP loans. You know those PPP loans? The loans that said, oh, we're suffering through COVID. You're having a hard time paying your workers, or you're suffering. You're losing money. The average amount of debt forgiveness to businesses, $95,700. Pales in comparison to what the student loans are. $95,700 on PPP loans. Sanders says, if we could afford to cancel hundreds of billions, hundreds of billions in PPP loans to business owners in their time of need, please don't tell me we can't afford to cancel all student debt for 45 million Americans. I'll add a pretty please. I mean, when you know the amount of debt that was forgiven because of those PPP loans, and like I said, Sanders says hundreds of billions of dollars, the average being 95,700, which is more than the average student loan, except, of course, when you add on the interest, when you add on all the extras because people can't afford to pay their student loans. So that's the reality, right? But the hypocrisy is when you see all the Republican members of Congress, just as an example, of whose PPP loans were forgiven. People like the disgusting Matt Gaetz, who's got some allegations on, sex with minors charges. I mean, it's a scandal. It's real. It's not made up. Oh, he got $476,000. Six figures. Boy, if some kid had, gone to Harvard College and Harvard Law, he wouldn't have racked up $476,000. But Matt Gaetz, Republican from Florida, PPP loan forgiven, $476,000. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican, Georgia, yeah, the one who's like kicked off all the committees. She doesn't do anything except go on Twitter, just go on the social media. I mean, that's her role, to be a loudmouth. Oh, she got a PPP loan because she couldn't keep her mouth shut, and she needed a loan to help her keep her mouth open, I guess. Marjorie Taylor Greene got $180,000 in PPP loans forgiven. They're not even the top two. There's some guy named Vern Buchanan. Well, Buchanan was a lousy president. Vern never liked any of his movies. But Vern Buchanan, a different guy in Congress, Republican from Florida, $2.8 million. $2.8 million in PPP loans forgiven. We can't cut some of these students who are like barely making it because they went to a private university, a private college, like the one that Betsy DeVos's family runs, which got sweetheart deals from under the Trump administration. They charge these people, these students, or they gave them loans, and now they didn't give them the other thing they needed, which was a degree that would give them a better paying job to service a loan or loans. So we can't cut them any slack, but we cut Vern Buchanan, named for, Vern was a cracker. Buchanan, one of the worst presidents in United States history. Republican from Florida, $2.8 million. Congressman, forgiven. It's unbelievable. Mike Kelly, he's been in the news. Republican, Pennsylvania. He's been in the news praising Trump. PPP loan. $974,100 forgiven. It's a hell of a lot of money for Mike Kelly. That's why he's singing his tune, praising Trump, saying, well, maybe Trump is writing a memoir with those top secret documents. Mike Kelly, forgiven. $974,100 in PPP loans. Oh, but here's the top name. I don't know this guy. Brett Guthrie, Republican Kentucky. $4.3 million. $4.3 million in PPP loans. Forgiven. If we can forgive these guys, these Republican members of Congress, millions of dollars. I mean, and it's a sum total for all the PPP forgiveness loans. Billions of dollars. Do you think we could forgive these students from some from junior colleges, some from private 4-year, some from nonprofit 4-year colleges, all with the best intentions, borrowing the money, not to buy cars, not to, have fun, to go to college, to get that leg up, to get the credentials they need to succeed. They need some help. 45 million Americans. And you hear these Republicans out there suggesting that there's some kind of something nefarious about cutting them some slack, like it's going to hurt them. It's going to hurt America. It's not going to hurt America. We canceled hundreds of billions in PPP loans. Student debt is not going to crush America. And if we don't forgive student loans, I mean, look, you hear the Republicans out there. They're practically going apoplectic. Oh, what are we going to do? Our economy, inflation, or recession. It's show business. You can't trust them. What do they know? It's GOP-PPP hypocrisy. That's what it boils down to. The interesting thing is you can go online, and I'll put the link if you go to my website at Emil Guillermo. If you go to amok.com later, or if you go to my Facebook page at emilguillermo.media, I'll give you a link of a search engine where you put down your favorite company, Republican, Democrat, whatever, and see how much they were forgiven. I mean, one of my favorite outfits, the Manila Heritage Foundation, they got some forgiveness money. I sort of found it by accident, but they got at least, another company, a group I work with in Stockton, they got $23,000 in PPP funds, but that's the way it should be. I mean, these are modest type of nonprofit organizations. That's what PPP funds were for. But when the wealthy, when they get like millions of dollars, Matt Gaetz gets $475,000. I don't know how he used it, but he was forgiven. I think when you put it all together, that kind of forgiveness toward the PPP, let's find a little compassion for the students, because the students aren't who you think. I mean, you got to go to something like the study that was done in 2018 by the Brookings Institute. I mean, they went over student debt and repayment data released by the Department of Education in 2017. And they went over 2 different cohorts. First time entrants into the loan market. They looked into 1995, 1996, 2003, and 2004, and tried to see how they paid back the debt, how they dealt with their debt. Here was the findings. In the 1996 cohort, the cumulative default rates continued to rise between 12 and 20 years after their initial entry, meaning things might have been okay. They might have gotten some deferrals, But then things got kind of messy. Things weren't working out. And default rates rose 12 and 20 years after. Situations change. When you're trying to figure out how to put food on the table, what goes? First thing that goes, the student loan. Maybe it was misunderstanding. Maybe it was they just got to pare back. But applying the trends they found in 96 to 2004, the study found that nearly 40% of borrowers may default on their student loans by 2023. That means some people borrowing had a hard time. You're not going to see it early. You're going to see it later. The new data shows the importance of examining outcomes for all entrants, not just borrowers. So they look at the greater pool of students. And what they found is that for-profit borrowers default at twice the rate of public two-year borrowers. So if you go to a for-profit school, like a kind of trade school kind of thing, twice the rate of public two-year borrowers. Because even people go to junior college, they got to borrow some money to go to school for their, to pay for their expenses. And it was significant, 52% versus 26% after 12 years. Now, because for-profit students are more likely to borrow, the rate of default among all for-profit entrants is nearly 4 times that of public two-year entrants, 47% to 13%, which means the real problem aren't the students at the junior college, at the public schools. It's those damn for-profit colleges that promise the world and don't deliver. That's where the Department of Education, the government, need to look at next. The new data also underscored that default rates depend more on student and institutional factors than on average levels of debt. What's that mean? That means it's not how much you borrow, but it's on your circumstance as a student and the kind of institution you're borrowing to go to. So 4% of white graduates who never attended a for-profit defaulted within 12 years of entry, which is good compared to 67% of black dropouts who ever attended a for-profit. What's that say? Well, the black students are dropping out at a higher rate. It must mean they weren't getting the kind of service they needed from the institutions they were attending, who may have just rushed them through to get in and get the loan. No follow-up? No follow-through? I mean, I think this deserves some examination. Now, debt and default among black college students is at crisis levels, this study found, 2019. And even a bachelor's degree is no degree of security. So you can graduate. Black BA graduates default at 5 times the rate of white BA graduates, 21 versus 4%, and are more likely to default than white dropouts. What does that mean? That means the dream of getting an education, while it's important and it is achievable, it may not be enough to overcome the kind of racism that black BA graduates face. I mean, that's pretty startling. I mean, I remember after I graduated, I was just waiting for the doors to open, right? Doors didn't open. I was waiting for someone to come down and reach down and pluck me out and say, yeah, come on. That doesn't happen. I mean, once you go to college and you finish, you got to keep going. You don't end. And so maybe what happens is these black BA graduates don't get the follow-up. They get the degree and they don't get that postgraduate affirmative action that's needed because they're qualified. They've got the credential. Why is it that they don't get the opportunity? And why is it that because they don't get that opportunity, they default at 5 times the rate of white BA graduates, 21 versus 4%. And that's something worth looking at and examining. Now, this goes now to the for-profit colleges. Trends over time are most alarming among for-profit colleges. Out of 100 students who ever attended a for-profit, 23 defaulted within 12 years of starting college in the 96 cohort, compared to 43 in the 2004 cohort. There's something wrong with the for-profit colleges. I think that's what this study shows. And who are the people running the for-profit colleges? Well, I bet you they're the same people who vote for the Republicans who are now criticizing the forgiveness, which makes you understand, oh yeah, these loans don't need to be forgiven. They need to be paid back to my buddies who run the for-profit colleges. That's the crazy thing. That is absolutely the crazy thing about, all the noise you're hearing from Republicans mostly and conservatives about, oh, what's going to happen to us? Where's this money going to come from? Well, the same place where it came from when the previous administration cut all the taxes and gave the benefit to the rich. We're still waiting for the trickle down. Oh, well, that's been debunked years ago. So here's the bottom line of this Brookings Institution study of the Department of Education numbers. The results suggest that diffuse concern with rising levels of average debt is misplaced. Rather, the results provide support for robust efforts to regulate the for-profit sector. Regulate. Those people who hate forgiveness, they don't like the term regulate. They want to deregulate everything. Except they want to get paid. They want the loans to be repaid. So regulate the for-profit sector to improve degree attainment and promote, and this is important, promote income contingent loan repayment options for all students, no matter what kind of institution. Because the income contingent means if you pay 5%, or if you have you make a certain level, you need to pay 5%. It's mindful of how much you're making. If you're not making that, you don't have to pay 5%. And I think that is one of the plans that the Biden administration is looking at going forward. So this is just a way to look at the criticism that's coming at all this. And I think it's important to understand it, because if you understand it, you'll say, oh, those guys who are speaking out and saying, student loan forgiveness is a scam. Student loan forgiveness is wrong-headed. It's anti-American. People should work for what they get. They're getting some. Even the first question out of the press conference yesterday, oh, is it unfair to the people who paid back? No, the people who paid back their loans did exactly what they needed to do. They got the loan. They paid it back. Good for them. The people who are not paying back aren't doing so because they're scammers. Although I'm sure some people believe that. They're not paying back because they can't afford it, because they're working as baristas, because they're not making a minimum, decent minimum wage. That's what people need to know. That the rhetoric, the hot rhetoric over student loans is really disconcerting. And it's especially disconcerting when you consider the hundreds of billions of dollars in PPP loans that are forgiven. Just the millions that were just given to the Republicans who serve in Congress. So there's a lot of hypocrisy here. But what Biden did yesterday, because I'm of the mind that he didn't quite do enough. He could have done a lot more. 10,000 and another 10 if you have a Pell Grant, so up to 20,000, drop in the bucket. It's a compromise number because most people have maybe 50, 60, 70,000 in debt. But it's still under the average PPP loan that was forgiven, which was at like $96,000 average. But many more were forgiven, and a lot of those people are in Congress. When you hear them, shake your head and say, shame on you, Congressman. And if you go to my amok.com website, I'll share the link. If you go to my Facebook page at Facebook at emilguillermo.media, I'll give you the link where you can just find out exactly what different organizations got. That's the kind of truth you need before you take a stand. Student loan forgiveness, good or bad, generally it's a good thing, but they've got a lot of things to fix, especially when it comes to the for-profit colleges. All right, so I promised I was going to do shorter shows because it's summertime, and but I wanted to share this with you. My daughter's having a big to do, and so she was a little talkative last night on the way back from a function. And she was helped out, and I thought, she could do a talk show. We just toss out a name. What do you think about this guy, Elon Musk? And then she'd go rattle on, Elon Musk, what do you think about this guy? And she'd rattle on. It was remarkable. We should do a companion show at some point. But because she said to me, I'm sorry, I acted like I don't know what was wrong with me. No, you're perfect. I put you on. But you're going to have to get your own show, honey. But no, she's good. And so we're celebrating here in the Gong Closet, all weekend. And one of the things I did last night, because, we dropped her off with some friends, and then I went off to do something with my wife, and we went to, and now this isn't going to sound like an exciting, well, it was a Wednesday. It's not going to sound like an exciting Wednesday night out, but it was a Wednesday. We went to Ranch 99. I know you're saying, come on, Emil, Ranch 99. That's like getting excited about going to a 7-Eleven or something. I guess white people get excited about going to a 7-Eleven. A convenience store. It's so convenient. I'm so happy. It's a convenience everywhere. No, this is not an Asian convenience store. Ranch 99 is like an Asian market. Now, if you know Ranch 99, you're Asian, you know Ranch 99. I had forgotten what Ranch 99 was like. I first encountered it years ago. There's one up in Richmond in the Bay Area. There's a couple, all over the California. But this is one that's sort of near where I am. And I happened to be there last night. And I said, there's a Ranch 99. Let's go in. And I think this is the RX. If you have forgotten your sense of Asianness, if you don't understand who you are or your culture or what you're about, just drive down to the nearest Ranch 99 and just walk around. It was like I was literally a kid in the candy store. I mean, I couldn't believe it. All the all the Asian baked goods, the Asian frozen goods, the Asian canned goods, the Asian fresh vegetables. I mean, you don't know how hard it is to find bitter melon in a regular grocery store. It's just bitter melon. We got the ones with seeds. Are you talking about a pink one? Are you talking about like a bad one? We just put those out in front of the store and people can pick them up for free. The homeless eat those bitter melons. No. This is Asian bitter melon. Or as my friend at her Asian restaurant likes to say, bitter melon. It's kind of like a Frenchy Italian, bitter melon. So I just loved just going up and down every aisle at Ranch 99. I just, like I said, I think I was last in Ranch 99 about maybe 10 years ago. I mean, all right. So does that mean, Emil, you shop white? Well, yeah, Safeway, Harris Teeter's, or, place like that, Kroger's. That's not shopping white. That's like, there's the grocery store. And they might have an Asian aisle, but it's usually just one aisle. If you go into a Ranch 99, it's like the whole damn, I mean, like right up to the ceiling, they got stuff. And it's like they got stuff on top of stuff. You get your canned beans, your sweet beans, and right next to like rice cookers. They're all like it felt like home. I said, oh my God, I feel really Asian at this place. I was getting in touch with my roots. And there were some roots. I mean, there were all sorts of these greens. You go to a white grocery store and you look for greens, and they might give you spinach, and maybe if you're creative, you'll take some beet tops and the beet greens, and you can use those as well as eating the beets, or radishes. Eat the radish tops as well as radish greens. Well, here they're all these greens. I don't even know the greens names. I mean, choy sum is a name of what? Yam greens. They got pea greens. All these, you don't find this at a Safeway. We need to go to an unsafe way, a non-safe way, to find the Asian way. Oh man, I mean, it was a vegetarian's dream. I mean, for me, if you love greens and you love tofu, now I'm a vegan, so we were a little weirded out when we saw the fresh fish. And, a little squeamish. My wife was like pushing me away because she thought I was going to step on a crawdad. There was a crawdad walking. And, there was the fishmonger, who happened to be a Mexican guy. Comes around, picks up the crawdad and puts it back into the box. But, yeah, I was, it was just an experience. All the parts. All the body parts are for sale there. There was even, I don't know what this is, but I took a picture of it because I'd never heard or seen anything like it. But it was the feminine part of a cow. I think they called it a beef uterus, which was like, I've never had the pleasure of that particular stew. So it was, beef tongue, beef this, beef that, pork this, pork that. But I have never, and there it was. They had a label machine printed out, the beef uterus. So I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure it tastes wonderful. And I'm vegan, so I can only imagine. I can only imagine what it's like. Anyway, I share this story with you because every now and then, if you feel like you're in America, you feel too American, you just don't feel Asian enough. And and your spine gets girded up when people say, "Oh, go home." And you say, "I am home." And you can really be at home here just by going to Ranch 99. Oh, the wrong button. I thought I got the cough button, but it wasn't. This would have been the cough button. But but I turned on the other one. All right, that's the show for today. Hey, it's Emil, Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable, and these were the things considerable today. Now, I learned a lesson. I learned that upon exit, one should always sort of check out what's really going on, if there's anything going on, because there might be. And the stories are still out there. Judge orders unsealing of affidavit used in Trump search, and it's going to be filled with like nothing. So that's going to be the big news tomorrow. I'll talk more about my adventures at Ranch 99 tomorrow. I'll also talk tomorrow about alcohol. I know, it's the weekend and you're thinking, oh, well, let's start drinking. I don't want to put a damper on your activities. And certainly the people around me, I think, can be drunk all they want. But I am going to be the designated driver, which is very easy to do when you're drinking at home. So as a designated driver for the people in my home, I'm going to share with you how I came to that conclusion, why I should be the designated driver. And it's because I just started looking at what alcohol can do to you. And it's sobering. It's that tomorrow. I'll talk about it tomorrow here on Emil Amok's Takeout. All right, so regular listeners of our show know that this is the time we do some meditation. This is the time when we get real. We just get real. Just get real. We start talking about being in the moment, being aware of the present moment, being aware of our breath, being aware of how we feel now, what makes us alive, and what we need to do now. And I know that sometimes, you'll think about things in the past. You'll think, oh, God, did I do that? And maybe you'll feel regretful of something. You'll feel sorry you did X or Y or Z. And you'll say, and you'll start being unkind to yourself. You'll start beating up yourself. You'll start, well, I'm a Catholic too, so it's natural. You'll start to self-flagellate, right? And you say, oh, well, wait, at some point this starts feeling kind of good. And no, that's not the way. You're supposed to start feeling the pain. Oh, it just feels painful. I don't like this. And then you go down from a cat of 9 tails to like maybe a cat of 5 or 6 tails. It's a little bit. No, go down cat of 3 tails. Oh no. And then you start using your actual cat. Oh, furry, better, feels better. But no. The idea is you should practice what I call loving self-kindness meditation. It works. And it just, the way it works is you start thinking of someone you love, a benefactor. You start thinking of a person you hate, someone you don't like. Maybe someone who was formerly the president of the United States. And then a third person you think of like a neutral person, someone you don't, I mean, the grocery store checker. Yeah. Do you really care about her? Him? Neutral, right? Just get it right. Don't ring it up twice. Make sure I get all the points. And then the fourth category is just everyone else in the world. Because, you know, we're going to encounter everyone else in the world. And then you say, you go through the different chants, the different prayers. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. Ease. Ease is good. You know, don't be Asian and say, ease. No, I got to do things the hard way. No, ease. It's got to be easy. Ease. And then you think about all those different categories of people that I suggested. Offer them that form of love. Because what happens is you'll find, give it about 3 minutes per person, maybe 12 minutes total of meditation time. And you'll find that as you give toward others, it comes back to you. Self-love. That kind of self-love. So, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Back in tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific live. Check out the replay, amok.com, Twitter, @Emil, my pathetic Facebook page. No, YouTube is pathetic. Facebook is okay. But YouTube, my pathetic YouTube page, Emil Guillermo. Facebook, fb.com/emilguillermo.media. Check it all out there. Till tomorrow. Mahal Kita.